Good morning and welcome back to the morning commute with Hopi living in the city. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. Look, it's already 91 degrees out here. Traffic's pretty busy right now. A lot of times the traffic eases up during the summer months when students are on vacation. Teachers are out of the classrooms. College kids are working or traveling. But today I wanted to make sure and leave a little bit early. Not as early as I wanted, but just early enough because of the new configuration around the Broadway curve. Yesterday it was pretty bogged down as the vehicles coming off the carpool lane from the 60 were merging onto the 10. And I think a lot of people were also confused because of the way that the freeway is configured in that area right now. I'm unsure if it's permanent. I don't think it is, but right now you have to probably map out your travel plans if you are going to the airport from the East Valley, because there's no longer an easy way to get off at Broadway or off to the 143. So that's the difference, and I think a lot of people were confused, and I hope nobody missed their flights or was late to work. But yeah, yesterday I thought I was going to be late, but once we got past the curve, then everything seemed to fall back into place. So yeah, it's already the middle of the week and we have another holiday coming up. I'm not sure what you guys have planned. I'm thinking we will just be here in town. I'm still working on my plan for the new pole barn, my Hopi pole barn. It is a budget build, but at the same time I want to make sure it is roomy enough for the trucks and trailers, and if we're fortunate enough to get a tractor one day, we can put it in there. I also want to park the D21 in there because it's not used a whole lot, and I also made it large and long enough to accommodate a full-size long bed pickup so that we can park the 2500 in there as well, because that's not used daily as either. So there's some plans for it. So I'm still making sure that I get some proper quotes for the steel trusses, because I don't think the wood's gonna work for me because of the span. It's 30 feet, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you have to have a truss every 2 feet along that 60-foot span. So I would need 30 trusses, and I'm thinking that's going to be pretty expensive. But the steel trusses themselves, I'm thinking they're gonna be, I thought I needed 5, but I need 6. And those bad boys aren't inexpensive. They're, I think, around $600 a piece. That's a lot. $500 to $600 is what I'm thinking. But I'm still shopping around, still comparing prices. And then once I get the trusses, I still have to consider or factor in the 2x6 purlins. And and that's all the way across the 60-foot span. And then I'll put on the roof, and then I need to get some side 2x6 post as well, and the treated 2x6s for the bottom. And then with this build, I want to put I don't know what it's called, but there's a piece of metal that goes along the bottom of your pole barn, and once you put that in place, it's like a little holder, and you can level that out, put it all on, and then you can start putting up your walls, your siding, and that holds it in place and make sure it's level. Because with the other one that I did, it was very difficult trying to level them and hold them up while I was screwing them in. So that's what I said I would do differently this next time. And I'm also planning on putting some like Tyvek wrap around the sides, and I will definitely order the longer pieces of siding and custom cut them to enclose the sides and the back. The back should be fine. You just need a one length for the whole back and probably most of the front. But the sides, I'm going to have to cut those to fit the gable roof. So yeah, I'm going to need some time to get all of that pricing figured out and figure out a purchase plan. Try to save some funds for that. But other than that, it's a beautiful day. I hope everyone's doing well. Everyone's getting ready for the day. I know it's nice and cool up north, but down here it's just hot already. So let's take a look and see what's going on with the news today.
18 people and then took his own life. Yesterday, an investigative panel released its findings on the events leading up to that tragedy.
We're joined now by Kevin Miller with Maine Public Radio to talk about the, quote, multiple missed opportunities that were highlighted in that report. Kevin, the Special Commission found a number of failures on the part of law enforcement and the Army Reserves. What did the report have to say?
Yeah, that's right. The report found that the leaders of the gunmen's Army Reserve unit failed to take the necessary steps to, quote, reduce the threat that the gunman, Robert Card, posed to the public. But members of Robert Card's family had also raised concerns about his increasing paranoia and his access to guns. Card was acting erratically and aggressively during a training mission, and reserve leaders actually ordered him to undergo an evaluation. He spent about 2 weeks in a psychiatric hospital, but the commission said those reserve leaders didn't do enough after his release from that hospital. Here's the commission chairman, Dan Wathen.
Despite their knowledge, they ignored strong recommendation of Card's mental health providers to stay engaged with his care and take steps to remove weapons from his home.
Right, so given those warning signs, why weren't his guns taken away?
The report says the local sheriff's office had, quote, sufficient probable cause to take Robert Card into protective custody. Now, Maine has a yellow flag law on the books where if a medical professional and a judge agree that someone poses a high enough threat, that person could be forced to temporarily give up their guns. But that never happened in this case. Sheriff's officials said at the time that Card hadn't committed any crimes, and they suggested that his reserve leaders actually downplayed the threat that he posed. Reserve leaders dispute that, and they said they really had no legal authority to take his personal guns, so there's been a lot of finger pointing over who was most at fault.
All right, so what about the family members of the victims? I mean, what did they have to say about this report?
Well, immediately after the report was released, the attorneys for victims' families and survivors held a press conference on the steps of Lewiston City Hall. They agreed with a lot of the conclusions, but one of the attorneys, Ben Gideon, also made clear that this isn't over.
The next step in this process needs to be real accountability, and that's where we come in. And in the next few months, you will be hearing what that plan entails in terms of the civil lawsuits and cases that we will be pursuing on behalf of all of our clients.
All right, so definitely sounds like it's, as you said, not over. What else might come out of this?
Well, the commission didn't make any policy recommendations. They said that's really up to elected leaders. The state officials actually passed several laws earlier this year tightening gun restrictions, things like expanded background checks and a waiting period on gun purchases. And that was really a big deal in a gun-friendly state like Maine. But it'll be interesting to see whether this latest report sparks any discussion of additional policy changes.
All right, that's Kevin Miller with Maine Public Radio. Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
This is NPR News.
And this is Morning Edition here on KJZZ. Getting closer to sunrise on this Wednesday morning. We'll have the Marketplace Morning Report coming up. Chicago hosting the DNC this week. The city has faced many challenges well before this week. We'll have a look at how the Chicago economy is faring, plus all the day's business news at 5:52 here on 91.5.
KJZZ is supported by the Phoenix Theater Company.
Center with John Roller.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff, and good morning to you. Valley Main lines, we're just starting to see the morning rush hour spool up, and that means we have slowing coming in from the West Valley. On the eastbound I-10 right now, you'll have light slowing starting at about 99th Avenue. Gets a little heavier through the 101 there. Right now, about 17, 18 minutes on your right in. Not too bad. A little bit of slowing starting to build now on the westbound 10 over in the East Valley through the Broadway curve there. Folks getting into the downtown area, and right now the Collector Distributor Road coming off the westbound 60 up into the Tempe area, also flowing smoothly. We do have one crash causing slowing. It is out in Buckeye, eastbound I-10, out near Palo Verde Road, and a crash involving a bicycle here in town, 7th Street and Broadway. John Roller, KTAR News.
Partly cloudy and a 40% chance of rain, a high of 106 today. Right now it is 90 degrees in Phoenix. Weather's brought to you by Howard Air. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Air.
KTAR News continuing coverage of the Democratic National Convention with Arizona's Morning News.
This will still be a tight race in a closely divided country. A country where too many Americans are still struggling.
In America, we do something.
Barack and Michelle Obama taking center stage last night in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. Our Jim Sharp is in Chicago, and he's been right there in the United Center covering the convention, which made history last night. When did you think you would ever see a DJ up on stage during the roll call? Jim joins us now. Good morning, Jim.
You're going to have to explain that.
Well, he played music that went along with each state and territory as their delegates voted. And he also was not just a DJ, he was kind of an MC at the same time, even though the secretary of the Democratic National Committee was the actual person asking for the votes.
Okay, so we want to know what he played for Arizona.
I missed that.
Oh,
I missed Arizona.
Some of them are obvious. He played Sweet Home Alabama for Alabama.
Right.
And some others are fairly obvious. So I missed the Arizona one, too. But President Obama said he was fired up, former President Obama, and it sounded, Jim, like the crowd was, too, all night long.
Yeah, definitely. I heard you guys say that, that he fired up the crowd. But also, not too far away from the United Center, there was fire and crowd. About 70 people got arrested, pro-Gaza protesters outside the Israeli consulate here in Chicago as all the festivities were going on inside the United Center. They lit fires. They tried to break through police barricades there. They broke through the bike line, and then they were met with police in riot gear, and a lot of them were taken off to the police station. But yeah, it was about the Obamas last night, and you could definitely see why you would choose to bring the Obamas out to whip up that crowd inside the United Center, the Democratic faithful. Man, he could still deliver a heck of a speech. It was something to see. There were people with tears streaming down their faces as he spoke. And I think he tried really hard to not just speak to the Democratic faithful, but to all Americans. He was talking about how divided our country is and how ridiculous it is how divided we are.
Right. And let's see, we had second gentleman Doug Emhoff on stage last night. That is Kamala Harris's husband. What was your impression of him?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people have been talking about the fact that, you know, here is a man who's married to a woman in a position of power. Does that feel emasculating and all that? He was actually kind of funny last night. He was talking about how he got fixed up with Kamala Harris, who his kids eventually called Mamala Harris. They rely on her for advice and all sorts of things. But it was quite funny. He was describing, he decided he would call her finally. He'd been given her number. He'd call her finally at 8:30 in the morning of all times and left her a rambling, weird message he wishes he could have taken back. And she plays it for him on each of their anniversaries. Their 10th wedding anniversary is about ready to come up. And so he said he's getting ready to hear it again.
That's funny.
Jim Sharp joins us from Chicago, and he'll have his special show at noon today following the noon news expansion. And we hope he'll find the DJ from last night and have him on the show. Tonight, it's about Tim Walz, and he will speak tonight to the crowd and to the nation.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning on the morning commute. And I hope you all have a great day. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them, hug them, spend quality time with them. And let's make this a productive day. Talk to you later. Hook on it.